Hello and welcome to another episode of the Farr Show, where I am Damien Farr, and this is the last episode of October, where I didn't clean the dirt off because it's freaking cold in Wisconsin. So, you know what that means. We're at that point where No Pants November is about to happen and it's cold. So, I planned ahead. I'm still going to take my pants off. I mean, let's be honest, that's going to happen no matter what. But let's get into what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about two movies. I know what you're thinking, Damien, two. So that's why the title's really weird. So let's start talking about, first we're talking about The Last Duel. I'm going to preface this right away by saying I think this is the better of the two movies that we're going to be talking about tonight. And that's not saying anything's wrong against the movie that we're talking about next. But we're talking Last Duel. This is based off a book. So is the next movie that we're going to talk about, so I'm assuming you can put two and two together. So, basic info on this one pretty much is Ridley Scott directed it. And I know what you're thinking, Damien, Ridley Scott? He's a good director. Hey, stop saying that. He's a good director sometimes, and then a terrible director other times. For example, every time Ridley Scott has a good movie, like, let's just use an example, an Alien, you get an Alien Covenant. So, he's really hit or miss, and I gotta say, thankfully, this movie was indeed a hit. It was a great movie. I mean, unless Spider-Man changes it, I don't think anything else is gonna change this, but knock on wood, movie of the year right there. So, it's directed by Ridley Scott, written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, were two of the screenwriters in it, which is based on a book, The Last Duel, the true story of trial by combat in medieval France by Eric Jaeger. Never read the book. I plan to read it after this, that's for sure. This movie was great. The biggest thing to say is the cast alone just makes this movie so good. Obviously, the cast always works good in Ridley Scott movies for the most part because he picks great actors. He doesn't get no bums, for lack of a better term. I thought there was a dent in the desk. He doesn't get no bums. He gets the best. And that's cool to see. He got Matt Damon as Sir Jean de Carlis or something like that. I have no idea how to pronounce these names, so I'm butchering them. Adam Driver is Jacques Legraze. He got, fresh off of Free Guy and My Future Ex-Wife, Jodie Comer as Margaret de Corrèze, and then Ben Affleck as Count Pierre de Alcon. Once again, no idea how to pronounce any of these names, but that cast, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, together for the first time in a long time. Adam Driver, who, say what you want about Star Wars sequel trilogy, he was great. Then you got Jodie Comer. I feel like I forgot an R in her name, but, you know, she just came off of Free Guy. She's in a show called Killing Eve that I've never watched, but after seeing her in this and Free Guy and her range, like, she's really serious in this, and in Free Guy she is not, for lack of a better term. So, seeing her range in this year makes me want to watch Killing Eve. So we're not going to get too much into the plot here, but basic premise here is Jodie Comer says that Adam Driver's character Legraze raped her, and it was non-consensual, which at the time, most men would just kill their wives if they said that, which is terrible to think. It's a good thing we've come a long way since then. But she told him, and he kind of started developing a grudge against Legraze, so he wants to duel him, for lack of a better term. And there hasn't been a duel in France at this point in forever. The king didn't even know that duels were still a thing, and he's like, you know what, we'll let this one go. We'll do a duel, sure. Well, the way the movie is structured here is a great way. I think this was the reason this movie works so well. Is you got the pre-duel, where it starts up a little bit of the duel, and then it cuts to Chapter 1, which is de Corrèze? Matt Damon's character's name. It starts with his point of view, and what happened to him to get him to this point. Then it goes to chapter 2, which is Legree's, and it gets him up to this point. And it shows that both men, in their own way, is correct. I mean, Matt Damon's character has a grudge against Legree's, and well, some of it's warranted, some of it is not. I mean, they show it both points of view. Who, is kind of right. Obviously, in Matt Damon's one, it shows him as the good guy and Legree's being the bad guy. And then in Legree's, it shows him being the good guy and then Matt Damon being the bad guy. Except at the ending, though. The rape scene definitely didn't show him as a good guy. Like, she didn't seem to like it at all. So it's kind of like one of those situations where even him in this situation, before that, he seemed fine. But then they show him doing the rape and it's like, nope. This isn't okay. This isn't how it's supposed to go. And then you got chapter 3, which is Margaret, Jodie Comer's character here. Once again, I think that was cool too, because it kind of painted them both in bad. With Matt Damon being a bad husband and this guy being a bad friend, for lack of a better term, because they were friends for Matt Damon and him were friends before this happened. And obviously we're not seeing eye to eye for a while, but cool. And then you finally get the duel, which I'm not going to spoil who wins. Honestly, I assume you already know who wins. But this movie is underperforming at the box office, and I say this is 100% a movie you should go see in a theater. This is a grade A movie. Like I said, Farr, probably film of the year unless Spider-Man takes it, which, let's be honest, is highly likely. I got the Spider-Man mug here. We're talking about Spider-Man, so let's break out the mug. Spider-Man! Or as I like to call him, Spooderman. So, we'll be talking about that movie soon. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I have a Spider-Man bias at this point, so we'll see what happens. But now we're talking about the second movie, which is Dune Part 1. And I know what you're thinking. Damien, why'd you call this The Last Dune? Well, I wanted Dune in the title, and I wanted Last Duel. It's not The Last Dune, though. There's going to be another one. So, some basic info on this here is it's directed by Denis Villeneuve. Once again, terrible at pronunciation. It's based on the book Dune by Frank Herbert. I have never read this book either. Honestly, this movie is good. I'd give it an FA. It's not a movie... I feel like it's better once you get the second half, though. Because this was all set up for another movie, but I'm not getting anywhere with it. Like, you're giving me all this setup, and I'm not going to get anything out of it right now until they make part 2, which kind of sucks. I get that makes sense. It's kind of like, at the same time, though, we look at another movie that kind of did the same thing as Infinity War and Endgame. You could watch Infinity War, and it was a pretty complete experience. Don't get me wrong, there was some threads left open for the future, but this movie is literally just setting up a second movie, which is fine. I get that. But for me, as a person who hasn't read the book, I'm now just thinking, what am I missing? What's going to happen at this point? Like, what is going to happen? So, that kind of sucks. We got a great cast here as well. Timothy Chalamet as Paul Atreides. I haven't seen him really in anything, honestly. He's a good actor to my understanding. Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, who was amazing in Mission Impossible. And probably my favorite actor of the bunch here, or second favorite actor of the group here, Oscar Isaac as Duke Leo Atreides. Josh Brolin as Gunnery Hollick. So far, this cast, just those three alone, ooh, it's a damn good cast. Then you got Skeleton Skarsgård as Baron Vladimir Hulken. I know him best from Thor. And, well, he was in, if I remember correctly, didn't he play Davy Jones? Isn't this the Davy Jones guy? So, hopefully the same guy. Dave Bautista in this again as Glosson Rebbe. We got Stephen McKinley as Henderson. Stephen McKinley Henderson as Thove Hurrit. Zendaya as Cheney. We got Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho. Javier Bardem as Sigar. No idea once again. Haven't read the book. Well, I want to point out right away, spoiler alert, Zendaya and Javier Bardem aren't until like the right end, like the last 30 minutes of this 2.5 hour movie that you really see them. They're shown a little bit here and there, but other than that, they're pretty much non-existent. My favorite character, though, was Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, but he was pretty much just playing Aquaman, which isn't a bad thing in my mind. But I liked that he was like Aquaman that was war hungry, for lack of a better term. Like, he wanted to fight everybody, which I thought was great. I liked it. So, I think this movie's an FA. Will it go up, once we get the second part? Maybe. Let's start talking about the basic plot, though, here. You got House of Hurricane isn't allowed to mine spice anymore on Icarus. Then you got House of Atreides, which is going to take over. They have a bit of a fight. Spoiler. Josh Brolin is supposedly dead. Oscar Isaac is supposedly dead. But Paul and Lady Jessica escape. Then eventually Paul and his mother escape. They end up having a duel. He has a duel with one of the people that Zendaya's group is, the people that have lived there before. And then they've just become part of the desert people, which is perfectly fine once again. But as a guy who hasn't read the book, I don't know what's happening. I literally have no idea what's happening. What did I miss? Am I missing? I don't know anything. And I get that they cut lore out because the book is this thick. This thick. So you can't make a movie, the way they say it is each page equals about a minute on screen. So you can't take a 800-page book and turn it into a movie and not cut some stuff out. But, man, I feel like I'm missing a lot. Don't get me wrong, I'm gonna see part 2. And I feel like this is a movie that you should probably see in theaters. I watched it on HBO Max. I was originally gonna go to see it in the theater, but after a while I'm just like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this movie. And honestly, personally for me, I was fine with seeing it on HBO Max. I got surround sound and everything. I've been upping my setup because we're getting to the point where movies are gonna become movie theaters are gonna become less and less common of a thing. So I just thought I'd be ahead of the curve. But I think this movie was good. Once again, I think it may get better when part 2 comes out, but we'll see. So, tell me in the comments below, what do you think of Dune? What do you think of The Last Duel? Have you seen either of them? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and have a far off night.